Welcome to Brand Builders TV. Deep dive topics, tools and resources brought to you by global thought leaders from within the Brand Builders Club. This show gives you access to the strategies that you can use to move forward with ease and flow in every area of your life and business. In today's show, which is part one of a three-part series, Scott will take you through a process that helps you to overcome the 9 greatest issues that could be undermining your copywriting. Scott shows business owners just like you how to use language to connect with your readers and get the results that you really want. During this series, you'll find that Scott shares how you can find it really super easy to write well, how you can win more bids, tenders, pitches and proposals, and how you can create world-class pitches to sell an idea, attract an investment, or even to change someone's mind. Watch this 3-part series, sit back, relax, enjoy, learn it, model it, and get shit done. Let's go.
Hi there, and welcome to this introductory show. The first of 3 weekly 30-minute episodes from Brand Builder TV on persuasive writing. I'm Scott Keys of The Writing Guy, and I'm going to be your host for today and the next two shows. So a little bit of background about me. I've been in this game of, I've been a writer, I've been a copywriter, and I've been in the game of training professionals in persuasive writing, showing them how actually easy it is to write with impact and to make their writing clear, concise and compelling. I've been in this game for 16 years. And in that time, I've trained over 5,000 professionals and business owners. And the 9 writing issues that I'm going to share with you over the course of these 3 shows are the 9 issues. I call them the nasty 9 for obvious reasons. They're the 9 issues that have just repeatedly crossed my path. And so it occurred to me a couple of years ago, maybe I should do something about this, because my argument is that if you nail these 9 issues, then you are well on your way to being a really effective and powerful writer. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to run through all 9 issues so you get a sense of what they cover, and I'm going to be reading from a list just so you're aware, because there's always one that I forget. I know they're a bit sort of odd, but and then today in this show we're just going to deal with 3. So the 9 are: number 1 is weeing all over your reader. Number 2 is poor or non-existent planning. Number 3 is a vague message or objective. Number 4 is poor structure. Number 5 is needlessly formal language, a very big one in professional services firms. You know, professionals seem to think that they should always be writing very formally. Number 6 is waffle, wordiness and wind, which I'm sure many of you can relate to, a very unfortunate ailment. Number 7 is long sentences, very, very common. Number 8 is passivitis, overuse of the passive voice. And number 9 is nounitis, which is overuse of nouns, especially abstract nouns. The 3 we're going to be covering today are weeing all over your reader, poor or non-existent planning, and vague message or objective. So let's get straight into the first one, which is weeing all over your reader. The format that I'm going to follow in these 3 shows is basically I'm going to explain to you why those issues are in the nasty 9. And by the way, what I meant to say was that the nasty 9 form the basis of the content of my online program called Write for Results Online. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to explain to you why these issues are in there. And what to do about them. Very, very simple format. So why is weeing all over your reader a problem? I mean, obviously, let's just sort of explain, first of all, what we mean. Weeing all over your reader, if you haven't already sussed it out, is when we are writer-centric, not reader-centric. and we talk more about ourselves or our team or our organization to the detriment and exclusion of the reader. So, we're given away by our language, and we're using we, us, our, and sometimes I, much more than your. So it's talking too much about yourself and not enough about the reader. And the reason why this is a problem is because this creates a mismatch, if you like, between mindsets. So your reader, undoubtedly, 9 times out of 10, is going to want you to talk about them and their needs and their wants and their desires and their goals. So if you don't do that and you talk instead about yourself, there's a mismatch, there's dissonance. And they're just going to run for the hills, basically. You're going to alienate them, and you may well lose them. And when we lose our reader as writers, let's face it, failure. We've failed as communicators. The second reason is, and this is also a really big one, is that when we wheel over the reader, we're actually giving them the subliminal message that we are more important than you. Not exactly a kind of winning strategy, I'm sure you agree. And then thirdly, when we talk a lot about us and ourselves and our product and our service, we inevitably talk about the features of our product or service as opposed to the benefits. And you and I both know the benefits are much more persuasive than features. And, features are basically a description of what we do, whereas a benefit is a description of what they get. And that's a really important distinction between do and get. They're much more interested in get than in do. I hope that makes sense. So what does this actually, what I was going to just share with you was I was reviewing a bid the other day, and I've got it on the screen in front of me. And I'll just read out to you the contents list of this bid. And you can tell me whether, where the writer's mindset is, the bid writer's mindset. So it's very simple, very short. The contents list is executive summary, which is fair enough. Our team and our approach, our project management expertise and resources, our fee proposal, our supplier service structure, our value-added services, and last but not least, our global network. No prizes for guessing the writer's mindset. And even though, the word we is not in there, believe me, in the body of the bid, or the tender was dripping with we's, us, and our. And needless to say, this particular bid lost. They failed to win the contract. Maybe not surprisingly. So mindset. The point I'd like to make about this is that this is not about cleverness. This is not about intellect or intelligence. This is about emotion. Okay, it's not about intellectual intelligence. It's about emotional intelligence. This is about shifting your mindset from being writer-centric and obsessed with your own organization or your own needs or your own team or your own agenda, and shifting your focus onto the reader. When I've already mentioned that when we are writer-centric, when we wheel over the reader, we tend to, our language and our structure as well gives us away. We tend to use the words we, us, and our. We tend to use the word do. This is what we do. This is what we've done. This is what we could do for you or with you or even to you. And we typically talk about the features of our product or service. When we shift our mindset to them and we make it all about them, everything changes. The language, the structure, and we start using the wonderful magic words you and your. What's so great about those two little words? They're personal, and this is all about personalization. This is about personalizing your writing. So when we use you and your, it's almost a kind of magic device. It makes the reader feel as if we are speaking to them and them alone. And that makes them feel special and valued and want to do business with you. It makes them more receptive. It opens them up. It makes them more receptive to your message. Typically, when we've made that shift, we also write about, we'll use the word get, which I've already mentioned, and we'll typically write about the benefits to them. There's another piece of language that sort of is a bit of a giveaway about mindset. And I come across this a lot in my writing workshops, where people say, oh yeah, I'm writing for my audience. Well, audience is not a helpful word, because audience suggests that you've basically lumped all your readers into the same homogeneous pot. And of course they're not. Every one of your readers is unique and individual and discrete and separate. True writers, true communicators talk about the reader. And I've used that word a lot already. It's about being reader-centric. And even if you're writing for dozens or thousands or even millions of people, it's about understanding that your words will be read by individual readers. And that's a really, really important distinction. So what can we do about this? I'm going to move on in a minute, but the obvious answer to this is write for your reader. And it's no coincidence that in my book on persuasive writing, Rhetoric or a Toolkit of 21 Everyday Writing Techniques, technique number 1 is write for your reader. Write for your reader. And it's one of those things that's simple but not always easy. If you're writing a bid or a tender or a pitch or proposal, and this comes up an awful lot, I see a lot of bids and tenders that wheel over the client. And what that is symptomatic of is either an inability or an unwillingness or a lack of opportunity to really understand the buying organization and the individual buyers within that organization. So poor bidders are bad at uncovering the pain points of the individual buyers. So that's, if you like, the BD, the business development equivalent of being reader-centric, of being client-centric, and making every page in your bid response either about them or adding value to them. So the answer to issue number 1 is write for your reader and make it all about them, not about you. At this point, if I could just sort of ask for any comments or any feedback. I mean, is any of this resonating with you? Can any of you relate to what I'm talking about? Do you see some of your own writing in what I'm talking about? Just let me know in the comments box. A couple of words will be good. No? Okay. No comments, that's fine. I won't take it personally. Right, issue number 2 is poor or non-existent planning. I mean, this is a really big one. There seems to be, people tend to pay lip service to this idea of planning. They see it as a good thing to do, but they either don't do it at all, or they're pretty lousy at it. The second reason why this is issue number 2 in my nasty 9 is because it's a great way, failing to plan is a great way of wasting time and energy in a way that I hope will become clear in a moment. And when we don't plan, we can undermine our own communication. And let me share with you why. So I would wager that, in your normal in your typical writing day, you have to produce, whether you're a team leader or a professional business owner or whatever, quite a vast array of documents, including but not limited to blogs, articles, social media posts, social media profiles, CVs, business cases, sales letters, ebooks, fully fledged books. What else have I got on my list? Brochures, onboarding documents, case studies, business cases, testimonials. I mean, the list is kind of endless. What I would imagine, what I would assume unites them all are a number of things. Speed. I would wager you need to do these things quickly. Clarity. They need to be so clear that your reader gets them in one go. Conciseness. Basically clarity and conciseness are the two most common issues that I come across in this line of work, not surprisingly, and they need to land. Everything you write needs to have impact, doesn't it? Otherwise, why are you bothering? The trouble is, the most common response to being under pressure to write something good quickly is to dive into drafting. And I call this premature drafting. Basically, the problem with this is it means that you start drafting before you're ready. You're committing your language and your words to half-baked ideas. You get halfway through the document and you realize, there are gaps in your knowledge. Your ideas really aren't quite as developed as they need to be. Maybe you should have read that extra article, or you should have spoken to the expert that you failed to get hold of, all sorts of things. And we get halfway through a document and we go, oh no, this is all wrong. And you do the only thing you can do when you come to what is effectively a dead end, and that's turn around and start again. And that technically in the trade is known as a rewrite. And it's a disaster. It basically means that you've wasted a whole load of time and energy ploughing a furrow that basically you're not going to put any seeds into, to kind of use a rather far-flung analogy or metaphor. And this is one of the problems with premature drafting, is a rewrite. Redrafting is a very necessary part of the refinement process, but a rewrite is a disaster. It gobbles up loads of wasted time and energy, and it's something we want to avoid at all costs. So what is the obvious answer to this problem of poor or absent planning? Well, the answer, and this is technique or chapter number 2 in my book Rhetorica, is to put time aside to plan. Because do you know what? If you don't do that, it will never happen. Basically, planning needs to be... This goes back to a very fundamental principle of my work, which is there are 3 phases or stages to the writing process: planning, drafting, and editing. And each of those phases, steps, or activities uses different parts of the brain and different skills. So planning for me, which is the mode we're in now, or that we're talking about, is basically divergent thinking. It's broad, it's when we brainstorm, it's when we think about the reader, we think about all the things that we might want to put in the document, as well as the things we want to omit. So it's divergent thinking. When we have a plan and a structure and a route north through the document, then we're ready to draft. And the mindset then becomes what I call convergent thinking. We're narrowing down the options and we're capturing the thoughts and ideas we're basically nailing them to the page with our language and our words and our syntax and our paragraphs and structures. And then when we've done our first draft, then we pull on our editor's green eye shade and we start editing and checking our work. This is really fundamental, and a lot of people don't get this. Planning, drafting, editing. If you take nothing else away from this show, that would be a really useful lesson. So we need to put time aside to plan. So imagine that there is a block of time available to you. Imagine a big block of time on a graph, say, or if you're thinking 3-dimensionally, it's a great big box. Just give me some answers in the comments. Out of the total time available to you to produce your document from start to finish, What is the minimum proportion of that block of time that you think we should spend, or that you should spend planning? Is it 15% or 5%, or is it 75%? Just put in the comments box, if you would, what is the minimum proportion of total available time that you think we should spend planning? And while you're doing that, I'm going to have a quick drink. Okay, no comments as yet. I don't know whether it's saying the comments will appear here, but there aren't any comments. Anyway, not to worry. So let me share with you what I recommend is, regardless of how much or how little time you have for the whole document, that I recommend you spend a minimum of 25% of that total time planning, about 50% of the middle bit drafting, and the balance editing and checking of 25%. So you've got 3 bands: 25% planning, 50% drafting, and 25% editing and checking. Excuse me. So that as a proportion, obviously that works. If you've only got 4 minutes to produce an email, but it's important, then spend at least 1 minute planning, 2 minutes drafting, and 1 minute editing and checking. If you have the luxury of 4 months to work on a grant application or a bid or a tender, spend at least 1 month planning, 2 months drafting, and the final month editing and checking your work. Just a word of warning, I would not recommend spending more than 50% of your total available time planning, because you'll just squeeze the other 2 activities of drafting and editing, too much. So that is issue number 3, nasty issue number 2. Put time aside to plan. So let's move on to issue number 3, which is vague message or objective. This is also very, very common. Why is it in the program? When we as writers are not clear about where we're going, or what we're trying to achieve, or the purpose of our document, we run the risk of producing something that rambles and meanders and wanders from pillar to post, and is basically going to drive the reader mad, which is clearly not good news. It also makes it hard for us as the writer as well. It's much more effective and more efficient to know where we're going. So to know where we're beginning and what our destination is. And by the way, just to sort of clarify, the training that I deliver to people around the world is not necessarily anyway, to do with pretty words or mellifluous musical cadences, although sometimes we do get into that. And that's what I call the mastery level of writing, the meta level. What I'm talking about here are the sheer mechanics of great writing, is that we need to be really clear, and our destination is not so much about prettiness, but is about behavior change. We're seeking through the written word to change the reader's behavior. And that's why this issue is one of the nasty 9. So what's the one thing we can do about this issue? Well, fairly obviously, we need to nail or define or articulate our objective or our purpose. And for this, I use a 3-letter acronym. Let's face it, what training course would not be complete without a TLA? This one is FFA, facts, feelings, and action. In other words, so imagine a three column table in front of you, FFA. The first F is facts. What do you want your reader to know? What do you want them to feel? The column in the middle. And then finally, what do you want them to do? What action do you want them to take as a result of reading your words? So the first column, the action, the facts. The first column Generally, there may be a lot of things you want your reader to know, but generally shouldn't be a problem. That's the left-hand column. If we move now to the right-hand column, which is action, which is what you want your reader to do, there's typically, in any communication, there's typically one thing you want your reader to do. You may want them to instruct you or give you a mandate, to engage you or hire you, to agree to meet with you, to give you some information, to send you a document, to respond in some way. That's usually pretty straightforward. From my point of view, where persuasive writing gets really interesting is in the middle column, the feelings. So what feelings or emotions you want to evoke in your reader in order to drive the action? So just give me some examples, if you would, in the comments box. In your writing, typically, what might you want your reader to feel? You know, what emotions might you want to elicit in them to drive the action? If you could just give me a couple of examples, that would be great. Okay. Fine. Yep. I'm feeling a bit lonesome here. No comments. But it doesn't matter. So just to give you some examples, this is really fundamental. Emotions you might want to evoke in your reader include, but are not limited to, fear. You might actually want to make them scared of something. You know, what might they fear? They might, well, in the current climate, they might fear being retrenched or laid off. They might be scared or worried about losing their job, losing market share, missing out on an opportunity, a program falling over or failing. And the list of things that people are scared of at the moment, you know, catching COVID, let's face it, you know, may well be a legitimate concern. The other side of fear might be greed. So what might they be greedy for? What might they want more of? Not just money. They might be greedy for money or want more money, but they might also want more time, more information, more power, more control, more influence, more reputation, more engagements on social media. They might be motivated. We might want to motivate them to take action. To give them the energy to take action. We might want to make them angry about injustices going on in the world. You know, people like Amnesty International and Greenpeace and Oxfam use anger a lot in their written communications in order to raise awareness and energize their constituents. Excitement is a really powerful one. You know, if you can get your words to excite your reader, you will be doing what most business writers singularly fail to do. Because let's face it, most business writing is pretty dull. You know, pretty dull. And what's going to excite your reader? What type of content must we talk about that's going to get your reader's pulse racing? And I've already mentioned them. They begin with B, and it's benefits. You know, if you can articulate the desired outcomes and benefits that your readers are looking for, it doesn't matter that they may be boring or dull to you, but if they're exciting to them, if you can excite them, they will be very receptive to your message. So FFA, once you do FFA properly, you will break the back of your document. What do you want your reader to know? What do you want them to feel? And then what action do you want them to take as a result of those two sets of knowledge? and you will be cooking with gas once you've gone through that. So I'm just aware of time. We're getting on for the 30-minute mark. I just want to close this issue of vague message or objective with a question to you. What is the role of emotion in persuasion? What is the role of emotion in persuasion? Why does emotion matter in persuasive writing? And the answer is that this goes back about 2,500 years to the 4th century BC, when somebody called Aristotle wrote a treatise on rhetoric in 384 BC. And in that treatise or essay, he basically identified three, he called them appeals, but they're kind of three elements. I mean, he really was the granddaddy of persuasion. Rhetoric being the art of persuasion, which is why I nicked the word and added an A on for rhetoric, the title of my book. And basically the three rhetorical appeals that he identified are logos, by which he meant appealing to somebody's reason or rationality, rational brain; ethos, appealing to the credibility or using the credibility or the character or reputation of the messenger. In other words, you as the writer. And then thirdly was pathos, which meant in ancient Greek passion or emotion. All three, he said, were equally important. So what that means is that if we neglect emotion and passion in our writing, we're missing out big time. So the note that I want to end on now is that logic may make people think, but emotion makes them act. Logic may make people think, but emotion makes them act. So I'm going to close there now. We're just past the 12:30 mark. I really hope that's been useful to you. We've covered the first three of the nasty 9 issues of weeing all over your reader, poor or absent planning, and finally a vague message or objective. Tune in, same time, same channel next Wednesday, the 23rd, next Wednesday, 23rd of September, for the next 3 issues of the Nasty 9. So that's it from me. Hope that's been useful, and enjoy the rest of your day. Cheers now. Bye-bye.
I hope that you've enjoyed the show today as much as we've enjoyed making it for you. If you've got anything out of this episode, please do tell someone else how they can subscribe to the Brand Builders TV channel at youtube.com/brandbuilderstv. Why not join us at our next Brand Builders Thinkubator, a global mastermind that we run every week to take away the loneliness of being in business on your own. For more information and to book your place, visit light.brandbuilders.club/Thinkubator. That's light.brandbuilders.club/Thinkubator. Until next time, be the ripple that you wish to see in the world, and we'll see you soon.